you want to drain the swamp, you cannot put the biggest alligator in charge of the exercise. I'm a Florida man, and I know of what I speak.
Not too many people admit to being Florida man, but Matt Gaetz does. Republican from Florida. It's Michael Patrick. Shields Politics is our family business. Change is big. It's solar panels and batteries powering every Michigan business. It's a smart thermostat in every home. Consumers Energy is making it happen, and if you haven't heard, they're working hard to ensure Michiganders have access to sustainable, reliable, affordable energy. You can learn more at consumersenergy.com/clean energy. Change in Washington is not coming easily. Dave D'Ulio is the director for the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, professor there in the Political Science Department in Rochester, Michigan, and on our AT&T line right this very moment. Thank you for being here. Welcome back, sir.
Happy New Year, Michael Patrick. Thanks for having me.
If you were to watch any of the news channels yesterday, you would think that this was the biggest story in the history of mankind, that the GOP cannot figure out who their Speaker of the House is going to be. Some people like throwing gas on that fire, I imagine, and some people like to say that the party is in disarray and so forth and so on. Maybe it hasn't happened in a long time that there have been more than one round of voting to determine who it would be. But does it really matter as much as it seems to?
Well, I think that depends on where we end up. Depends on who the speaker ends up being. If Kevin McCarthy can find a way to negotiate a settlement, if you will, to bring on board the votes that he needs from those who aren't supporting him at the moment or voting against him at the moment, then no, it's not a big deal, and we'll move on in a day or two, and it'll be water under the bridge. But if it ends up being somebody else from the more conservative wing of the GOP, which is unlikely, maybe it does matter. I think there are some intriguing options that might be out there on a whole that run the spectrum. But I think the answer to your question is it depends.
One thing seems very clear, and that is that he really, really wants it, Kevin McCarthy does. And someone told me he's already moved into the office, in fact. But what are the odds he's going to get it? And if not, who? Because I was told that the person who got the second most number of votes in the last round doesn't even want it.
That's right. Jim Jordan actually nominated Kevin McCarthy on the before the second vote. And then Jim Jordan got all of the anti-McCarthy votes. So it is, and he doesn't want the job. He said so multiple times. He wants to be chairman of the Judiciary Committee. I think it'll be very interesting to hear what the reporting is out of Washington this morning to see if there's any leaks on what the negotiations turned up overnight in terms of what additional concessions Kevin McCarthy might be willing to hand over to the members of the Freedom Caucus who are opposing him, or if it turns out that somebody like Steve Scalise, who's also a member of the leadership, might be a viable alternative as more of a consensus candidate.
Let's go back to the beginning, go back to class, if you will, at Oakland University. What does the Speaker of the House do?
The Speaker of the House has tremendous power, which is why it is such a big deal. It's unlike the Senate, where things are a bit of a much more like herding cats, is the old phrase. But in the House, the leader of the chamber has tremendous power to set the agenda of the institution. It also is much more. The Speaker is much more in control of the schedule. And the way I think about it is if the Speaker wants something to happen, it happens. If the Speaker doesn't want something to happen, it's not seeing the light of day in terms of legislation coming up, in terms of having a vote. The Speaker really controls the how the trains run in the House of Representatives. So it's great power.
There was talk, and still is today, about maybe retiring Congressman Fred Upton being Speaker of the House. Do you see how that might be possible? I thought the whole thing was about finding someone very conservative, and he's a problem solver.
Well, I think that would. I've been thinking about that actually this morning. Is there a path? In theory, yes, where some more, call them moderate conservatives, moderate Republicans would join with moderate Democrats to give somebody like Fred Upton the 218 votes that are needed to become Speaker. So it would be this almost coalition of sorts that would deliver that. And you know what? It might be the thing that the chamber needs to break the polarization that exists. If there's somebody in that all-important office, in that all-important position, that would really govern in a way that is not about the base, that's not about polarized politics, we might actually see a break in what I think is the biggest problem that plagues American politics.
It's curious, isn't it, that the Democrats get to help choose the Republican Speaker of the House?
Well, if they would in that situation, right? And but if all Republicans need to do is to elect one of their own, if you will, right? Somebody who's in the caucus now. All they need to do is get their ducks in a row and find Kevin McCarthy a few more votes, or find somebody else who is more of a whoever more people can agree on.
What do you think happens next? There's a lot of horse trading going on, isn't there?
I have to imagine that there's a good bit of negotiation happening overnight, and among leadership, among the main players, if you will, maybe even among the staff of those individuals. Your guess is as good as mine. We'll see. I think starting around 9:00, the reports will come out, and then all bets are off at noon.
Bring on Fred Upton. That would be awesome for Michigan. Dave Doolio's awesome for Oakland University in Rochester. It's Michael Patrick Shields.